Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. I am Echo 2 here with...
Echo 5.
Alright, guys, so tonight we are going to discuss Season 1, Chapter 3. So, this episode is called The Sin. And I'm pretty sure everybody's watched it by now, so we know exactly what's about to happen. But we're gonna unfold it and tell you our thoughts. So, all right, Echo 5. Well, I know this is one of your favorite episodes of the season, so I'll let you go ahead and start off with your thoughts.
Yeah, so yeah, like you were saying, this is definitely my favorite. I'd actually say this is my favorite episode of the season. And I think it's just because it kind of completes that arc in an epic way with Grogu, or at the time it's Baby Yoda, we don't know his name yet, Grogu, with the whole situation, with Mando going out and finding him and kind of making that decision on whether or not he's going to take the moral high ground and get this guy's back, save him, rescue him, or he's gonna turn it in and just be like his normal bounty hunter self. Anyway, so I just love the entire, just the feel of the episode, the intensity as he's flying back with the bounty, and you could just see his conscience just through the helmet. You could almost see emotion, and almost like a Vader thing. The way Vader, you could see emotion through the helmet with actually seeing any expressions or anything at all.
Oh, kind of like the throne room scene from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, the way you just watch him throughout the episode.
Camera
He just
angles.
he looks so conflicted, like he's not sure what he's going to do with this kid, and you're not sure as an audience when you watch this for the first time. You're like, man, is this guy he's going to take him back to the Admiral, on Navarro, and turn him in and get his bounty, get more Beskar armor, shine up, and take off and continue to do his thing and be a well-off bounty hunter? Or is he going to do something else? And you're not really sure the way this episode is going to go. And just, I mean, I don't want to go through the entire episode. I mean, through our discussion, we'll kind of go through these different points, but just what happens from the start of this episode to finish, it's just really exciting to see just the way that his character it basically progresses, kind of the way his character was from episodes 1 and 2 to the end of this episode. He's almost like a completely different guy, and it's just the action, just everything about it. We'll get into this whole thing, but yes, this is definitely my favorite episode. This is a 10 out of 10 episode for me. I'm not sure if it's this one or episode 8 when we get to that one is my favorite, because I love that episode too.
Oh,
but
yeah,
but episode 3, so far, this is definitely my favorite episode as we go along through season 1. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Well, I kind of have to agree with a little bit, because I remember, like, prior to Mandalorian being released, that they were talking about how difficult it was to be able to portray a character that always has a helmet on, because you can't do any facial expressions. You can't really see how he reacts to things. And so I found it really interesting on how they're able to really make that work.
Sure.
And so you kind of do see that. It's like you can kind of see his emotion through that helmet, especially at the beginning of the episode, because he's just chilling there and he's letting the child just kind of just sit there with its cover open, letting it breathe, so it's not kind of cooped up in there. And you can kind of see him getting a little attached to it. Like, he gets annoyed with it because it grabs the shifter knob, but you can already see that there's an attachment growing.
Yeah, I think that kind of started with, well, I was gonna say I think it started when Grogu uses the Force on the Mudhorn, but I think it started before that We talked about that in the last
That's true.
episode,
The
episode
first
two.
episode when he first sees it.
Yeah, but there's definitely attachment growing from the last episode, and he's at this point where he's not sure who he's going to be more loyal to. His, just the moral high ground, his connection he's building with this character, or his normal lifestyle of just being a badass bounty hunter. So
Yeah, and I think that's one of the cool things that I like about it is because we're kind of really exploring characters in the Star Wars universe that appear to be these dark underground bounty hunters that all they're out is just for a paycheck. And
yeah,
granted, there are some, but we're following a character who kind of represents, I guess, the majority of it, kind of like another Han Solo character who out there for the
yeah,
money,
there we go.
but gets tied into something and his conscience starts to nag at him. So, because we see him actually follow through and go in, and it's like, okay, turning in the child, and he's still unsure about it, but he's
Yeah,
completing his job. And then he sits there and asks, "So what are you going to do with it?" And then the forget his name, the negotiator or whatever his name is, the Imperial dude
you're
is
talking about.
like
I don't know what his actual name is. I just refer to him as the Admiral.
the admiral, yeah. And he's like, "Oh, I was under the understanding you've taken your payment and commission that everything is to be forgotten. So basically, get out of here. You're not supposed to be asking questions. We're
Yeah.
done. Forget about us."
Well,
And he even
it's
goes back
against
to
the
Great
ways of the
Cargo.
guild to. Yeah, well,
Exactly.
it's against the ways of the guild. You're not supposed to worry about what happens with the bounty. You just collect the bounty, you turn it in, don't ask questions, then you go to your next job.
Pretty much. And you can kind of see Mando is kind of doing that because like he got all that Beskar and he's like, all right, this will make you a nice replacement for your armor. No, shoot,
Well,
get out of here.
that's another reason I like the episode so much is he gets everything. He gets the Beskar, and right when I saw him get all that Beskar armor, he's walking like a badass, and you're like, okay, I think he's gonna go back for the baby now because he's even more. They basically set themselves up to fail right there because they made him more powerful by giving him that
Welcome
Beskar
to the
armor.
Empire, making stupid moves without thinking.
Right? Yeah.
But I mean, you can't blame them. You can't blame him. I mean, like honestly, like you see this bounty hunter, he goes in, he's the one successful, brings it back, walks away. The Empire, I mean, he's supposed to be like the best bounty hunter. They pay a bunch for him. So he's got a reputation. So they're not going to expect him to be coming back to free this creature. As far as
Yeah.
they know, they're done. And so they didn't count on his connection to his humanity actually coming out.
Sure.
And that's where we actually begin to see Mando change.
Well, I love all those little points that slowly move him to his change. Like when he leaves and he sees the crib smashed and in the trash, or it's just thrown away, thrown aside, and then he's in his ship and he's on the controls, and then he just kind of stops and looks at the ball, and then you can just see that he's thinking and making a decision, and then he just shuts the ship off, shuts off the Razor Crest, and you just know things are about to go down.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the stormtroopers had it coming because I thought it was hilarious when
Oh,
he's
they're
entering this.
jerks, man. Those stormtroopers.
Like he was entering that facility, and it's like this old grungy, beat up place. It looks filthy, like
Yeah,
something you expect from the underworld.
yeah,
And he first brings in the asset, and the stormtrooper has it, and he's like, "Hey, take it easy with that." And the stormtrooper's like, snaps back. I forget what he says. He's like, "No, you watch it or something." And
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, you don't say that to Mando."
Oh
And
man.
so he comes back and just kills them.
Well, I love when he walks up to the door, and the gatekeeper droid comes out, to and he just takes it and he just breaks him, and then it's actually the
Oh,
gatekeeper
when he
droid.
returns, yeah.
It's a TT8L7T droid, or TT8L YT droid. It's known as a tattletale droid. So it's basically used for sort of like underground gangsters, like we saw with Job, obviously, but basically more secret kind of societies in Star Wars underground it's a basically that droid just a little he's a little punk, those droids. So I love that it just comes and just boom, just snaps it, and then it's just like the music starts intensifying, and I love when the lights are when it's kind of dark and the lights are kind of flashing with the sparks and everything like that, and the stormtroopers are kind of going through with the lights on their gun. It's got that really it's really cool. I love it.
Dude, that whole scene just coming back was actually pretty phenomenal. I loved every aspect of it, especially a lot with the fighting that they choreographed with it. Like you got a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of everything. Like he pulled out the knife, he used his blaster, he shocked him, and then he throws out the flamethrower and sits there and roasts that one stormtrooper.
Oh
There's
yeah,
just a little bit of everything in that fight, and it was
that was
pretty
almost
epic.
violent that point because he's like spraying with the fire and the guy's like screaming. He's like um, I forgot to mention about
You
this.
can see how much he hates the Empire.
Oh yeah, well the what do you call the whistle bird
The whistling birds, yeah.
the whistling birds. I forgot to talk. So he got when he got the Beskar, he got a signet, which was the Mudhorn, but he was saying he wasn't
No, he
worthy of
didn't.
it because
Right,
it
yeah,
wasn't a worthy kill, right? Is that
right. So he didn't take it.
okay? So he
Like she
denied
was
it
gonna
because
offer. Yeah, she was gonna offer to. She's like, okay, so since you defeated a Mudhorn, that's gonna be your new signet. And he's like,
yeah,
oh, I'm not worthy of it yet because technically the
I,
enemy helped me kill it.
yeah,
And she's like, enemy? Well, he didn't know he was my enemy at the time.
yeah, that was great. I love
And
Elizabeth Swallow as the armor is awesome.
dude, yeah, I actually really like the armor a lot. Like you can tell that she has like a lot of authority there, especially
Yeah,
when she's sitting there making the armor. Because you get what's his face, the Vizsla heavy
yeah,
Mandalorian dude to come in.
yeah, the armor Vizsla, yeah, he's cool. Was he played by
He's
John
called the
Favreau?
armor. He was played by John Favreau, yeah.
Okay, because I
Yeah, you
that
can
voice is really,
recognize the
yeah,
voice.
for sure.
And so he's like sitting there. It's okay, okay, all right. So this Biscar you got, let me take a look at it. Oh, it's got an Imperial logo on it, dude. Okay, so you're sitting at tables with our enemy,
Yeah,
and so I actually
that's
like the little fight that they had there because they had what the little vibroblades came out,
yeah.
and I thought that was really cool because I think that's the first time that we see vibroblades in Star Wars since Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm.
And so it's kind of a nice little nod, little Easter egg for long-term fans.
That's when we get the whole start of This Is the Way.
Because the armor held such authority. She's like, "You guys stop it," and she
Yeah,
did it with such authority that they just stopped immediately. And then
yeah.
she started talking, and she's like, and it goes on a little spiel, and it's like, "All right, this is the way," and every single one of them's like, "This is the way," and then everybody just calms down.
When we got a lot more of those flashbacks that told us kind of is bringing us the story of where Din Djarin came from and who he is.
And I'm assuming that's back during the Clone Wars, right? It'd
Yeah,
have to
because
be
you see
because
the
of
super
the super
yeah.
battle droids.
Well, I guess you got to think how old is Din Djarin? We don't know. Assume that he's in his. I want to say he appears to be in his like late 30s maybe.
Yeah,
So
because
this is
this is about
five. It's 5 years after Return
25
of the Jedi.
years since A New Hope,
Since,
or
since
since the
like
start of the Empire, or 20,
I think five.
25
So it's
to
five.
30 years.
So it's 5 years before Return of the Jedi. Go back. Empire Strikes Back. That's 5.5 years. 3 years to A New Hope. That's 8.5 years.
And
And
then
then
20
Clone
years of
Wars
the
is
Empire rule.
yeah,
No, no, no,
yeah. So there
no.
you go.
Between 3 and 4 is like 20 years or something, or 18 or something years. So that's
Well,
26 years.
How old is Luke and Leia during A New Hope?
I believe they're
Nine.
18.
I thought they were 19, but I can go with 18. I know it's between 18 and 20, but I assume I thought it was 19. But let's just
No,
round up
you're right.
20.
19 years old.
So let's say
Yeah, so they're
let's just
19.
round it about 38 years since the Clone Wars.
Okay. Yeah.
So 30. You know what though? That seems a little because unless he's in his like late 40s or something, he seems like he's probably like 8, 9 years old during the whole situation. It's kind of hard to tell, but I assume it's during the Clone Wars. I'm just gonna say it's in the Clone Wars. You got the super battle droids, we know Death Watch is out and about during the Clone Wars. For
Yeah.
those who've watched it. So, I would assume it's the
Yeah.
Clone Wars time. If we're wrong, someone can correct us.
No, yeah, I'm actually doing a quick little search, and it's saying that the Clone Wars ended 19 years before the Battle of Yavin, and Djarin was already a child of at least 5 or 6 during the battle.
Okay, there you go.
So that places him in his 30s,
Cool. Okay, that works.
and so that's definitely during the Clone Wars, and
Okay,
so
which makes sense because the super
and
battle droids.
yeah, I
I don't
mean
think
we do
anybody was
know
really using those.
through Rebels. Other than Rebels, though, what we saw at that old facility, and even in some of like the new novels and stuff,
Uh huh.
some characters have recommissioned some of the old battle droids for different uses, and
Yeah.
so, but in that aspect, they haven't been seen as much. So, and I'm the only one that thought they're a little bit more terrifying than they were than in the movies and Clone Wars, the animated series.
Yeah.
These super battle droids actually look pretty menacing.
You're talking about the animated one, or you're talking about the Samurai Jack version animated?
I'm also talking about Revenge of the Sith with R2.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just seeing the droids in general. These guys seemed a
Yeah.
little bit more menacing
Until you hear their voice in Revenge
until
of
you
the
hear the voice. Yeah,
Sith. You stupid
but
little
they
ass.
had a they, yeah, exactly. But I feel like they had a little bit more of a grungy, more like darker tone in this.
Yeah.
Kind of something comparable to the Dark Troopers that we see later in season 2.
Sure. You know,
But yeah, until you hear them speak and you watch the movies, you kind of like, oh yeah, the super battle droids are nothing.
yeah. I like the return of the that ice cream maker. They
Dude, I
they
know the from Cloud City, the one that was
yeah,
holding on to
that's
Beskar.
that was actually I actually have that figure. It's Will, his name's Wilro Hood. He's the
Real
he's the
okay.
he's the ice cream man or whatever they call him. He's the one carrying the ice cream maker in Cloud City when they were evacuating. But
Oh,
I thought
that's
that was
comedy.
I thought that was cool that they actually used that as a thing when they gave him his Beskar from the Admiral. I thought that was pretty awesome.
So there you go, guys. There's a little bit of trivia for you. The name of that character is
Wilro Hood.
Roa Hood. All right.
Kind of it's
Yeah,
kind of hard
I
to say.
really like.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of hard to say because it's not like Willow, but it's Will Row, like the
Yeah,
word
makes
will, the word, and
sense.
then yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
do like a, I do like a lot of the Easter eggs that they've been throwing around the series. Like a lot of the species that we see like the Rhodians. We
Hmm.
see Zabrak, which
Yeah,
I'm
you see. Yeah.
assuming is not from a Dathomir one, because the Dathomir ones were a little bit darker. So this one had to come from Eridonia, their original home planet.
So there's two different
Um,
types of Zabraks.
well, I'm assuming that the Zabraks that are on Dathomir are basically ones that were enslaved by the the Night Sisters,
Ah, like Maul and Savage.
because they're yeah, exactly, because they're a little bit darker and more bred for battle. But
Uh,
Zabraks are originally from a planet called Eridonia,
yeah.
and
Well,
so
the Iridonians are the ones that we see in like the cantina, and they actually have a powerful kind of like throat that
yeah,
goes off. Yeah, you actually see that in you see that in the 2003 Samurai Jack Clone Wars. You see an
true.
Iridonian use his power. It's pretty cool. I love that
Yeah, and
series.
you actually get to see one in Knights of the Republic too. There's
We
an
we
Eridonian that travels with you.
we got to cover the Samurai Jack series in one of these episodes sometime down the road. That'd
You
be
know,
awesome.
I'd actually be really down because I actually really enjoy those. So
I think more
I'm
people
I'm
need to
totally
watch
down to
them.
watch those again. Yeah, and we can kind of, even though they say that those aren't canon, I still recognize a lot of it as canon because it doesn't really contradict much of what they've done in the current series and everything. I think they could still fit pretty well.
Like the fight with Anakin on Yavin 4 with Asajj Ventress with the rain.
Oh yeah,
They
that was
got
one
some
of my.
good
That's
stuff in
honestly
there,
one of my
man.
favorite battles.
They
Oh,
have some
absolutely.
really good stuff. Oh man, Dirge and yeah, they got some good crap in there, man.
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
And then jumping back to the races real quick, we got to
yeah,
see Jawas. We got to see the Katerians, the Kyuzo, the Melbu, the Nikto, and um, also mentioned the Rhodians and the Mon Calamari. So we got
yeah,
quite an array of different aliens that were from the originals that we got to see, which is really cool.
yeah. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, you saw the Nikto at the end of the first episode. They're the ones that were
That's
protecting
true. Yeah.
the child.
Uh, true. And then we get to see a bunch of more of them where they're uh trying to take Mando down, which I thought was probably one of the coolest scenes of the episode.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you think? Going back to the fight at the Imperial facility, what
Yes.
do you
Yes.
think of like how he was able to take out those stormtroopers so easily?
I just thought it was cool because at this point, I know sometimes you want to see the development, see him get his butt kicked and fight and get his way. I just thought it was fun to just, it was just nice, clean, badassery. Like he was just taking them out. It was just awesome, simple, and he's getting everybody out of the way, using the whistling birds, using his flamethrower. It was a good opportunity for him to just kind of show off his gadgets and just show what kind of warrior this guy is. I mean, I like those odds, and he's it's just
Yeah,
really good. I enjoyed it.
get
I was happy with it. It was awesome.
yeah, I was too, because like we got to see it in the first episode, and they kind of like talk about, okay, this is like the most feared bounty. Well, I wouldn't say feared bounty hunter, but he's one of the best, and so
Sure.
he's already been established that he's a good warrior, and so it's just really cool that we're able to kind of see his different gadgets, like you're saying, in actual battle and conflict, and so I would have honestly hated for them to build up a character with the first couple episodes, even though the beast kind of took him down pretty easily. But I mean,
Yeah.
those were kind of hard to fight as it is. But to go against like
Yeah.
actual other intelligent, like, well, I wouldn't call them Imperials intelligent, but going against other foes, because I just liked how he was a little bit tactical and how he took them out. Like he didn't go head in and just like start killing everybody once. He basically just went, broke the door, confused the two stormtroopers at the front. They walk
Mm-hmm.
outside, so he already separates them for the rest. He
Yeah.
goes to the side, blows a hole in it, confuses more stormtroopers, and kind of spreads them apart. So it's easier for him to kind of do his Batman thing,
Which Batman?
which
I
I
was
thought
gonna
was
say
funny.
the Dark Knight thing. I think we'll talk more in episode 6.
Yeah, which is actually
That's like
pretty
the
dope.
It is. It is good. No,
But
but
you
like
get
you
a
said,
little bit of taste
yeah,
of it here.
he's very tactical. I love when the stormtroopers surround him, and at this point, you haven't seen the whistling bird work yet. I remember the first time I saw that, I was just freaking out, man. When you surround, all of a sudden, he shoots the whistling bird, and they're just going around taking them all out. And you're just like, man, that is a
They're
cool.
all confused. They're like, what just happened? And then boom, they're dead.
Yeah, yeah, he's
That's
got some
another
cool.
thing that I really enjoyed is the build up, because like when he first got the whistling birds, like, okay, with the excess, I'm gonna make you whistling birds, which is good against many foes. And so it's like, oh, okay, we can't wait to see him use it. And then we get to this point, and he's like, hold up, what I'm holding is very precious. Let me set it down. And so then he goes down, and you just see his little wrist rockets go, and you're like, oh, I know what's about to happen. And so it builds like the anticipation. It's like, okay, these whistling birds are meant to take out multiple foes. How's it gonna do? And so then they sat there and did it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. It was fantastic. And then you get and I love how he just gets the child, and you see Dr. Pershing, and you actually see that he actually cares about the child. He doesn't seem like he wants to hurt him. He's just interested. He's basically just I mean, like we saw in season 2, it seems like he's just taking care of Moff Gideon's business because he has to. He's doing it out of fear.
Yeah, and
But
not because he wants to.
no, exactly.
I mean, maybe there's a little bit of want because he's curious about the actual scientific study on it, but not
Yeah,
enough to kill the kill the asset.
yeah.
Not
Because
much
when
like
Mando
the
walks in, he's like, oh, don't hurt him. He's just a child. Like he's concerned about him. So he definitely isn't interested in killing anybody. He just wants to do his studies. That's his trade.
yeah, exactly. And the client himself, he's like, I don't care, just extract the whatever necessary stuff you have and let's get out of here. Let's just be done with it.
Yeah,
Because Mando was in there like spying on him with his extrasensory uh abilities with his helmet, and so he's able to spy on them and hear what they're saying. And so you kind of get that little banter between Pershing and the client.
I love when what was it that the admiral said to him? There was one line we passed up when he was talking to Mando when he first when he was asking questions about the kid, and he was just saying that it's he said something about it's hard to find a real Mandalorian or something like that. He was just totally dogging him. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I forget what the word for word, but yeah, it's basically he's like egging him on. It's like get out of here.
Yeah.
Let me take a look. Let me see if I can Google it real quick. What does
I love when so after he gets the child, I love when he's just like walking through the street, like heading towards the Razor Crest, and then you see all those like fobs kind of going off, and you see all those guys just slowly kind of looking and just following him, and just got the whole freaking guild following this guy.
yeah. So yeah, it's just really interesting just how everything kind of just like unfolds in this episode, and I'd have to say like it kept me pretty entertained throughout the whole thing. Like the last couple of episodes like were super cool, but I think this is when things start to get really good because we see the story is actually starting to get established, and we're like, okay, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next?
Well, and
And then
this was the sequence where he turns on the guild and
yeah,
becomes
he
a different
becomes a
character.
rogue.
Yeah, he goes rogue. And I just love how they're walking through the streets, and then they basically surround him, and he's like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk to my ship, and you're going to let me pass, and then Grief Karga's like, no, well, how about this? You give us the child, and we let you walk free, or whatever he says, and then just that epic fight starts ensuing. He's just like, okay, and he just shoots him and flips into the speeder, and he like puts the gun to that astromech droid, and he's like, move. He's like, drive. That was good, man.
I thought it was jumping into that whole battle. I just thought the whole like build up to that fight was actually pretty intense. Like he's just walking out, and then you knew that everything was what you would call it uh gonna go down because it just shoots back to the cantina, and you just see every tracking fob just start to beep,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, oh, sorry, all right, Mando, good luck trying to get out of here. What's gonna happen?
yeah. It was great. Oh, he's just kind of he's hiding out on the speeder, and he's using his vanquishing rifle. He's using his flamethrower, and then he starts like it's cool. You see how it burns out. He's kind of using it, and then he just kind of goes psh, 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 and just kind of like fades off, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
he needs to get some new gear.
yeah.
So when you saw that scene, how did you think it was going to go down? Did you actually think he was going to get out of there, or do you think he was going to get
Oh, I thought
captured?
I thought he was I thought he was gonna get out of there for sure until he kind of fought his way out, and then he was basically surrounded. He's basically there's just people everywhere. I wasn't sure how he was gonna get out of it. I felt like he would get out of it, but I wasn't sure how it would happen. But then all of a sudden you see all those freaking Mandalorians come down, and you're just like, yes, there we go.
Dude, I think
uh,
that was my favorite part of the episode is just seeing him just
all
kind of
those
like
guys.
stuck in a pickle.
Oh
He's going around. Grief Karga is saying, "All right, I'm your only hope, so surrender, and we'll work something out."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And at that point, you're like, "Can we trust this guy? Can we not? I don't know." So Amanda obviously chooses his own path, and then you can see him trying to figure out how he's going to get out there because he's like sitting there hiding, and then other people are like
He's looking at the
sneaking
child, and
up
he's
on
like,
him.
yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you just see blaster fire and just a bunch of jetpacks,
Explosion.
Mandalorians coming out of the sky. I thought that was. I love the way that it was done, especially in a night sequence.
I
I
love the
think it
armor with
added to
his
it.
I love the armor with his automatic. He's just like bah, 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 bah. And you just see
Oh,
guys just
Visla.
walking. Yeah, Visla, yeah, the Visla. Yeah, that was awesome. This was the way. Yeah,
And yeah, he was sitting there with his like large minigun like blaster, which I
yeah,
thought was cool.
yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, his name is Paz Vizsla.
Pause Visla. That's right.
Yeah,
It's funny.
because
It's funny because
he's not the armor.
it's funny. It's yeah. No, the armor is Elizabeth Swallow. I had it mixed up.
Yeah,
Pause Vizla. Paz Vizsla is the character that John Favreau plays, the one we're talking about with the automatic
correct.
weapon. Which is
Yeah.
funny because this entire conversation, I'm looking at a Black Series figure of Paz Vizsla for some reason.
Oh,
For
that's
some reason,
legit.
I was still calling him. I was still calling him but it's funny because he's actually known as a heavy infantry Mandalorian in Black Series, but
Yeah,
it's actually he's Paz Vizsla. But you're right.
that's
Clan
true. I
Vizsla.
think I picked that one up from what should we call it? I think I picked up that figure from Best Buy because I have one similar. I don't know if I got you that one or if you picked that one up on your own.
No, I think you got me that one. But
Fair
he
enough.
I just thought it was comedy because I was looking at it the whole time I was calling him the armor. So
Yeah, that's what I thought I'd throw it out there so we're not confusing our listeners.
yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, epic scene. I love when he goes back to the ship and Grief Karga's their way, and he's like, okay, seriously, dude, this guy just took out all these guys. You think you got a chance? And he just throws off the steam. He's like, where'd he go? Bam, shoots him.
It's like I'm Mando. What do you mean? Do you think I got a chance? I'm the main
Did you think
character. I've got all the chance.
Did you think Grief Karga was dead? I actually I
Um,
thought he was dead the first time.
I honestly didn't because they kind of one thing that I notice when they do these shows is when they introduce something, especially with Mando, he comes in with his suit of armor, and then Greek Karga is sitting in the cantina. He's like, "Oh, I got a little bit of it too," and then he pulls out his Beskar and then sticks it back in his vest.
Yeah,
Um,
he's trying to get him to
I
retire and go check out the Twi'lek baths.
the healing vest of Ryloth, yes,
Yeah,
and so I kind of knew that they weren't going to kill him off so easily. So I didn't think it was. I forgot about the Beskar the first time, and then when
Mhm.
I saw him get up, I was like, no, there's no way he'd be dead. I was like, there's got to be a way for them to bring him back or something. And then he pulls out the things, and you see the blast mark on the Beskar ingots, and I was like, oh, that's right, because they did such a good job at Mando wearing his armor, getting shot and blasted, and how well it was able to withstand
Yeah,
blaster fire. That it's you get to this point, it's like, oh, okay, he survived because he had that Beskar ingots just chilling there. All right,
sure.
I'll accept him being alive.
Yeah, right in this little, there's like a little 6 inch by 4 inch or whatever square. And he
Yeah,
basically,
and I'm wondering if Mando kind of knew, because Mando doesn't miss a shot.
yeah,
Mando's
I don't
got a
know.
pretty good aim, and he hit exactly where it was. And so I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
was kind of like, poof, let me shoot you. I've known you
think
for
it,
a while, so this is
yeah,
kind of a mercy shot. Don't come after me.
yeah. You know,
That's kind of what I got from it.
it's wild how we'll see in later in the season, and as we saw in season 2, how Grief Karga is in this episode when you watch it again, compared to how his character has changed when you get to season 2. He's such a different person.
Honestly, I was thinking the same thing because when I got to this episode after watching season 2, I was like, man, his character seems so different here than it does later on. And so they do a really pretty good job at building his character up too. Like
Yeah,
one thing I've noticed in all of this is that John Favreau and Dave Filoni, they really take a liking to building these characters up and giving them development throughout the time. That they're
sure.
not characters that just jump in and it's like, okay, everything's easy for me. No, they're gonna struggle a little bit. They're gonna they're gonna have things that are
Are you
gonna
talking about
test
are you
their
talking about
morals.
Ray, Mark? Are you
No, no,
no?
no, 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 I'm not mentioning any of that, but maybe a little bit. Um, but I mean, this goes for like any like poor written character, like
Sure.
in any movie. Because there's plenty of movies I've seen where the characters are just coming in and it's like, okay, there's really not any development. Like, so when I really appreciate like a director or an author in a book that will take time to really show you a character and then show them the journey from point A to point B, and then because you kind of get to relate to the character a lot more. I think they're more
Sure.
relatable when you can kind of see them struggle. Like look
Oh
at
heck
Anakin
yeah, man.
Skywalker for instance.
We'll start
Anakin
with
Skywalker,
Anakin, sure, but start with Luke too. I mean, look where
a
Luke came
whiny
from.
moisture farmer.
Yeah, sorry, go back to Anakin. I'm not trying to interrupt you. Yeah,
No, but that's like another great like example of a character being developed. But Anakin Skywalker, this slave on Tatooine who goes through this struggle. Like you get to see his emotions. You kind of see the conflict with him, and you kind of feel for his character because you're like, okay, I can understand your conflict, and you're watching him go from point A, the slave who wants to change the galaxy for the good, but as he's doing that, realizes that there's a conflict between what is good, what is evil, and loses his whole concept on it and starts to realize, okay, well, these guys are saying this is good, but it's really bad. But it throws him down to the dark side because he's doing it for the right reasons and a little bit for the wrong reasons. And
Yeah.
then you eventually see
For what he
him.
thinks is the good.
Yeah, exactly. Because like the whole thing is like Obi-Wan is like, oh, you're evil, Anakin. Well, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Blah blah blah. That whole little secret. I know I kind of butchered it a little bit, but the gist of it's there.
Well, then you all
And so you
lost.
see that. Yeah, exactly. And throughout the Clone Wars is like you get this whole change of character. And you got to understand why he went the way that he did, and then come into the sequels, which brings in more character development with Luke, and then they do such a good story at connecting him to Darth Vader, and then getting Darth Vader back from point B to point C, and then his whole redemption arc. Those are the kind of like stories that I like really appreciate. I don't like characters that just
Well,
jump in. There's really no
that's
character
why Star
development.
Wars is. You kind of just listening to you talk about the story of Anakin just kind of makes me realize how really unnecessary the sequel trilogy was, because it's basically the first six movies are basically the story of Anakin Skywalker. But I mean, we'll talk about these more when we get the original Star Wars coverage. But it basically it comes full circle. You start with this slave boy that gets picked up, becomes all he wants to do is become a Jedi, and then you go through, you go through his human weaknesses, his love and his attachments, and how these things caused him to fall, and then the ultimate redemption of family, of love and all that stuff. I mean that scene,
How it not only destroys, but it also saves
yeah,
or
it yeah
heals.
it, you just nailed it right there. I mean that scene going back, we were talking about emotions with helmets. I mean, come on, that scene with Vader looking at Luke, and then looking at the Emperor, and looking at Luke, and then that you just it's
Not to mention
that's
that music just like pounding in.
oh man, that's got to be, that's probably one of the most, I think that's probably still the most powerful moment in Star Wars. But I could be, there's
Yeah,
other good spots too, but that's, I don't know.
absolutely. Because on the Discord, one of the guys was asking, they're like, okay, out of all the Star Wars films, which which scene is your favorite? And I
Mm.
immediately go straight to that scene with Return of the Jedi. That whole throne room battle is mainly
But
just for that.
it does get ruined for me with the addition of him saying no.
No. Yeah,
No, like I love the silent decision when he just looks and there's nothing, and he looks and there's nothing. He
I
just
think
picks him
it's a
up.
little bit more powerful.
Yeah, no, I do too, big time.
And we'll jump into more of why that was added once we get to the film. But just a kind of a quick thing is they had to change certain scenes in each of the movie from the original because otherwise George Lucas would have still owed royalties to his ex because she owned some of the Star Wars, and so he made enough changes to where the new stuff she wouldn't get royalties on. From my
Yeah,
understanding, that is, and so that's why we got the Blu-ray special editions.
yeah.
But
Now there's some good changes in there, but we'll talk about those. Those
oh
are definitely,
yeah,
that would be a good one right there. Is just covering the changes from the originals, from the '97 special edition, and then the changes in the Blu-ray edition. I think is I don't know. I think that was 2006, but I could be wrong. I gotta go back and look at it. But yeah, no, there's some good in there. It's not all bad. There's some stuff, and I like how it makes things consistent. But like you said, we'll go over that later.
yeah, and so it kind of ties into this whole thing. Is like we're seeing how characters are developed, and
Yeah,
even now, it's like this is kind of it's like you get to see the aftermath of what the Skywalkers did to the galaxy. One destroyed it, the other saved it, and this is kind of the messed up world that we're dealing with.
sure.
And so it's kind of the world that how do I want to say that? Basically, it's really cool to see the aftermath and kind of see a character like Din Djarin just chilling in a galaxy, struggling with his humanity,
Yeah.
while also trying to mm, make a living. Because like he even came in and he just took all the tracking jobs. He's like, oh, all these bounties, I'm just gonna do them all. And
Take
Greek
him
Courage
all.
is like, whoa, 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 you just made enough that you can retire, dude. He's like, nope,
Yeah.
we're just gonna keep doing this. And it's kind of like, and and to go along with like his whole humanity thing, you can kind of see that he was doing it so he can kind of distract himself from what he just did.
Yeah.
Like even Group Cargo was like, oh, why don't you get some what was it, some of that spice? And he's like, by the time you get out
Yeah.
of hyperspace, you'll forget all about
You
this.
forget. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like,
Basically, like helped up on Spice.
he's like,
That's funny.
yeah, he's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go on my next bounty and just kind of come back and turn
Yeah.
these in when I'm done. But then he just started questioning. He started questioning. He's like, okay, well, my morals versus my job. And so I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a cool thing. Kind of like I think we all should think about is like when we come to moral decisions, like how are we going to react? Are we just going to be a mindless hunter, or are we going to question it? And we'll get more into that with the character later on because we get to see a lot of his humanity come out in the next few seasons, a few episodes, and then next season for sure.
Things kind of slow down a bit and just kind of focus on him as a person and a character.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my favorite things about. Like I already said, like I love the whole story that they're telling with this character. Even though
Yeah.
we do get some episodes that feel like they're kind of like side missions or filler episodes, but a lot of it is just trying us to tell us the story of Mando and the child
Well, they actually
and
all
how
have
it
connect.
really affects.
I love how even the most random episodes in the season have connections to the second season. Everything just kind of ties together. So there's pretty much relevance to every episode of the season in the end, which I really
Yeah,
like.
exactly. Like next episode, for instance, which we'll get into uh on our next podcast. Which what's the name of the next episode? I forget.
That's the one when they go to Sorgan, the jungle planet.
It's called Sanctuary. That's what it's called.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we'll see a lot of that in the next episode when we get to Sanctuary.
Yeah, where we meet the girl who got fired.
And we'll go into a little bit more of that discussion in a little bit because I think it's more fitting if we discuss
Oh
it
yeah,
while
no,
we're
I figured we'll say that,
introducing your
but I'm
character.
just thinking to myself.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's gonna be a fun little discussion.
Yeah,
People
there's
may
actually
agree
a
with us, but I can see where both sides are coming from, but we kind of side more with one than the other,
we'll,
just
we'll,
based
we'll
off
stay
the
we'll
message
stay as the
that's
Bendu, Mark.
saying.
We'll stay as the Bendu.
Very
Stay in the.
true. The Bendu.
You gotta be peaceful, man. Keep the peace. Too much division.
Exactly.
Too much division these days, man. We're all Star Wars fans. We're all here for one purpose, really. Who cares about politics and all that crap?
Exactly. We're just here just to have a good time, kind of just I think that's one of the good things about Star Wars is that we can kind of like jump into Star Wars, forget about everything else that's going on, and just enjoy it.
Exactly.
Um,
Well,
and I can't wait till we get to later in the episode because or season is because I think one of the funniest things is when he's taking off with the asset and the thing, you have Paz Vizsla just shows up with his jetpack and just kind of like waves him off, and he's like, "Oh man, I got to get me one of those."
oh, I love that. I love how he just like salutes him when he's flying there. That was awesome.
Yeah, no, I was kind of hoping Mando would get one of his own uh
Jetpack.
jetpacks, and so I'm kind of glad. I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, he eventually gets one. But big spoiler.
Does he
But
seem to be?
but I think that's the one thing that I thought his character was missing, and
Oh yeah.
so it's just
Yeah,
really
so
cool. A
intelligent.
lot of people are saying it's like a role playing game. It's like it starts off with like he's got nothing, and then every quest he gets like a little reward and starts building his armor and starts getting like a little reward after. It just kind of levels up after every episode.
Yeah, but I guess that's part of the build.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's part of the story.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. I think that's going to wrap it up for our discussion. Thanks for listening. As always, be sure to check the links up below where you can find us on Instagram and keep up to date with all the current news. We're pretty active on there. We got funny jokes, so come for the memes, come for the news, and
Good time.
shoot us DM or comment on our posts. We try our best to try and interact with you guys because we love what you guys have to say. And if you have any comments about this episode that you want to discuss, I would say jump down on our Discord where you can talk with other fans about the things you love in the Star Wars universe. We try to be there as active as we can because we love having in-depth conversations with you about some of the key points of the Star Wars and just some of like the Easter eggs and all the other cool stuff. So we got a link down below, or jump on our Instagram. There's a link there. And then, of course, we've got our online store down in the links below as well. So you can check out some of our awesome merch that we know you guys will love. Uh, I've actually purchased some of them, and I think the quality on them is pretty solid. So I really hope
Yeah.
that you guys get the chance to get some of your own and show your support. So as always, guys, may the force be with you.
Always.
Echo 2 out.
Echo 5 out.